0.2% chance that the federal.
Right. Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to say call hello, Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shah, Ba'ashem, Rakah, Kudash. I want to send double honor to the apostles, elders, and bishops. A great millstone. I send much peace, love, and salutations to Yakim out there pushing the word of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shah. In sincerity and truth, it's the brother Ariella. And this titled lesson is going to be good article on Haman and the Greeks, a review. Brothers said this in the chat a little bit over a week ago. I hadn't really had a chance to read it. Went through it, read it. Basically, somebody came to this platform called Medium, somebody that's in the truth, and wrote an article on Haman. It says, from Haman to Alexander, the Agagite connection to Mystery Babylon. And this was written back in December 2024. It's actually pretty well, pretty good article, you know, fascinating article, something that, you know, we break down and go over and show people the connection between Haman when you read about him in the book of Esther and the Purim, right? Feast of Lots, and that story and how it connects to the Edomites being over in Macedonia and them basically being there to propagate what we understand as the Greek Empire. This is how we can know that these are the Edomites, those Greeks at those times. So I also threw this into Gronk to try to just give me some bullet points. I want to touch on some of these points, touch on some pieces of this article, and Lord willing, this is edifying. All right. So this says from Haman to Alexander, the Agagite connection to Mystery Babylon. The archives by Heritage Weekly wrote this, and I haven't researched them. When you brothers, you know, I know Gabar Yahweh, if he wants to go through it and research who this group is, that's one of the best researchers on the chat. It says, tracing the Edomite lineage of oppression from the ancient world to modern prophecy. The story of the oppression and domination woven throughout history finds its origins in the bitter enmity between Jacob and Esau. This ancient conflict, recorded in scripture, is not a mere tale of sibling rivalry, but a prophetic saga of systemic control and spiritual warfare. Okay, so when you go back and you read the prophecies and you read the stories, we know that Jacob and Esau, that family line has had a war between each other. And it talks about this in scripture, all over the scripture. But, you know, it starts with the giving of the blessing and Esau's jealousy over Jacob receiving the blessing of the firstborn over him because Esau rejected the blessing. Okay, so in Genesis 27:41, it says, and Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning for my father are at hand. Then will I slay my brother. See? And these words of Esau, her eldest son, were told to Rebekah. And she sent and called Jacob, her younger son, and said unto him, behold, thy brother Esau, as touching thee, doth comfort himself, purposing to kill thee. You see, now therefore, my son, obey my voice and arise, flee thou to Laban, my brother, to Haran. So Esau had always dedicated himself to taking Jacob out and procuring the blessing. And this is what we see today. Yeah, the water. The brother posted who these guys were. Says the Heritage Weekly likely refers to a blog published by the Heritage Foundation, a conservative think tank, which can be found on their website. Okay, cool. And whoever wrote this, when you read down in this article, they using the word Yahweh Shai and everything like that. So you know it's somebody that was taught from a One West school, right? But anyway, going back to the story, Jacob had to flee from Esau because Esau always wanted to kill Jacob because of that blessing. And there was always a prophecy that we were going to be at war with the families of Esau, which Esau's name was changed to Edom. And then when you read, Esau had different sons, right? When you go into scripture, Genesis 36:15 says, and these were dukes of the sons of Esau, the son of Eliphaz, the firstborn son of Esau, Duke Teman, Duke Omar, Duke Zepho, Duke Zanaz, Duke Korah, Duke Gatam, Duke Amalek. These are the dukes that came out of Eliphaz in the land of Edom. These were the sons of Adai. And so he goes on a list the other sons of Esau through other women. But these dukes, these families were always wanting to be at war with the 12 tribes of Israel, the sons of Jacob. All right, it's something that was taught by their father, Esau. So when you read Exodus 17:16, he says, well, he said, because the Lord have sworn that the Lord will have war with Amalek from generation to generation. So when you skip ahead and you get up to the point of Haman, and this is during the time of the Persian Empire, this legacy of Haman and the sons of Esau wanting to destroy the Israelites was always prevalent, all right? It was always prevalent. So when you go back to this article, it says, this ancient conflict recorded in scripture is not a mere tale of sibling rivalry, but a prophetic saga of systemic control and spiritual warfare. At the heart of the story lies the lineage of Haman the Agagite, right? A descendant of Esau's line through Amalek, right? And its enduring influence on the rise of Alexander the Great, Hellenistic Greece, and ultimately the Roman Empire. By examining these connections, we uncover a startling truth. Haman, Alexander, and their respective empires represent stages in development of Mystery Babylon, described in Revelation as the ultimate system of spiritual and physical oppression. Okay? So now he starts to go on this. Now I went over to Gronk, and I'm hoping y'all can stay with me as I do this. And I typed in this. I put in this article and I said, "Can you give me the breakdown of this article with 4 or 5 key bullet points?" Right, just so we can get to it. All right. It says, "Here's a breakdown of the article from Haman to Alexander, the Agagite connection." Boom, boom, boom. It says origins in Jacob and Esau conflict. The article traces the theme of oppression and domination back to the biblical rivalry between Jacob and Esau, framing it as prophetic and spiritual struggle. It positions Esau's lineage, particularly through the Amalekites, as a recurring force opposing the Most High's covenant people. All right. Haman the Agagite's role. Haman, identified as an Agagite in the book of Esther, is linked to the Amalekite lineage descending from Esau. We understand that, right? That's why he called Agag. His plot to exterminate the Jews is presented as a continuation of his ancient enmity, which the article suggesting his influence extended into Persian and possibly Macedonian context, foreshadowing broader historical developments, right? So when you go and you read in, let me see, I think I pulled it up. I should have. The additions to Esther. We'll get the whole thing. Boom. You go to the additions of Esther's, and I'm going to start at additions of Esther, chapter 16. I'm going to start at 5 and read quickly, all right? It says, oftentimes also fair speech of those that are put in trust to manage their friends' affairs have caused many that are in authority to be partakers of innocent blood and have enwrapped them in remediless calamities, beguiling with the falsehood and deceit of their lewd disposition, the innocency and goodness of princes. Now, ye may see this, as we have declared, not so much by ancient histories as ye may, if ye search what have been wickedly done of late through the pestilent behavior of them that are unworthily placed in authority. All right, so it's talking about Haman and how he basically tried to set up the Israelites. Right now, you may see this. Let me see, verse 8. It says, "And we must take care for the time to come that our kingdom may be quiet and peaceable for all men, both by changing our purposes and always judging things that are evident with more equal proceeding. For Haman, which is Haman, the Macedonian, the son of uh, Adamata, being indeed a stranger from the Persian blood and far distant from our goodness, and as a stranger received of us, had so far forth obtained the favor that we showed toward every nation, as that he was called our father, and was continually honored of all the next person unto the king." So Haman had rose up being to like second in command to Xerxes at this time, right? It says, "But he, not bearing this great dignity, went about to deprive us of our kingdom and life." Right? But it's telling you right now that Haman is a Macedonian, letting you know that the Edomites, the Agagites, the Amalekites were in Macedonia. That's a key point in understanding the connections, because when you study Esau, they're all over the place, and Esau has done a good job of erasing history, which I'm going to touch on that a little bit more as we continue in this. All right. Now, going back down, verse 12 says, "But he, not bearing his great dignity, went about to deprive us of our kingdom and life, having by manifold and cunning deceits sought of us the destruction as well of Mordecus," we're talking about Mordecai, who saved our life and continually procured our good, as also of blameless Esther, partaker of our kingdom, with her whole nation. Now, if you understand the backdrop, the Persians and Macedonians had kind of already been at war with each other. All right, these rumblings had been going on. So having a Macedonian at that high level, you could get the sense of, when you go back and read Esther, why not only did they take out Haman, they went throughout all the different parts of the Persian Empire and removed Esau, destroyed Esau out of there. Because they like, oh man, they're trying to set us up, right? They're trying to cause an internal civil war with these people that are here to weaken us, right? Going back to verse 14, it says, "For by these means he thought, finding us destitute of friends, to have translated the kingdom of the Persians to the Macedonians." See? So this is all going back to that ancient hate that Esau had towards Jacob. And it led to this conspiracy during the time of the Persian Empire, which led to what we have now is a feast day celebrating the Persians slaughtering the Edomites in the Persian Empire, right? It says, "But we find that the Jews, whom this wicked wretch have delivered to utter destruction, are no evildoers, but live by most just laws, and that they be children of the Most High and most mighty, living power, who have ordered the kingdom both unto us and to our progenitors in the most excellent manner." Okay, you see? All right, so there's a connection between Haman being of Macedonia. All right, and so when you go and you read in First Maccabees, the first chapter, it talks about Alexander's father and where he came from, right? So Maccabees 1:1, it says, and it happened after that Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian, see, who came out of the land of Chittim, and smitten Darius, king of the Persians and Medes, that he reigned in his stead the first over Greece. Now, this is hundreds of years later. Okay, these wars have been perpetually going on between the Macedonians, the Edomite Macedonians, and the Persians. Okay, but there's a connection between this ancient power struggle that's been perpetually going on and on and on and on. All right, so when you go back to this, It says connection to Alexander. When you go back to here in Grump, I'm right here. It says the piece proposes that Haman's Edomite heritage influenced the rise of Macedonian power, specifically the Timanid dynasty, culminating in Alexander the Great's empire. It argues that the Hellenistic expansion reflects the same oppression systems rooted in Esau's descendants. Now, I showed you in the scripture these connections. Now, you see this word Timanid dynasty, all right? You can get that word Teman. You see that root word Teman that's in there. Now, I'm going to go down. I'm going to skip down to that part here in this article. So we don't have to read all of that. All right, so the Timanid dynasty, Edomite assimilation and domination. The Timanid dynasty of Macedonia, claiming descendants from Hercules, all right, demonstrates the Edomite strategy of survival through assimilation and dominance, right? The etymology of Teman, a key region in Edom, resonates with the dynasty's name, suggesting a symbolic connection. Heracles, revered as the quintessential warrior god, embodied the Edomite ethos of conquest and strength. You know, and we already know, what does it talk about the blessing of the Edomites? If anybody can put it in the chat, that'd be great. It said that Esau's blessing was going to be of the sword, right? As a matter of fact, it's in the same chapter, I believe. Yeah, Genesis 27:38 says, and Esau said unto his father, hast thou but one blessing? My father bless me, even me also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. Oh, boo-hoo. And Isaac, his father, answered and said unto him, behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth and of the dew of heaven from above. And by thy sword thou shalt thou live, and shalt serve thy brother. And it shall come to pass when thou shalt have the dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. The point of it being is that they're going to live by the sword, right? They're going to live by the sword. And the water, Jim is good soldier. All right, back to the article. It says, Heracles, revered as a quintessential warrior god, embodied the Edomite ethos of conquest and strength. The Timanid kings, including Philip II and his son Alexander, perpetuated this legacy, merging local traditions with their own. Their rise marked the consolidation of Macedonian power, setting the stage for the Hellenistic era, a period of unprecedented cultural and military dominance that would profoundly impact Israel. Right? Alexander the Great, a man of Teman. Alexander the Great, a descendant of the Timanid line, epitomizes the Edomite traits of ambition and conquest. His military campaigns reshaped the known world, fulfilling the prophecy, Job 9:24, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked, right? And that's further spoken about here in First Maccabees, right? When it talks about Alexander, the son of Philip. Verse 2, it says, and made many wars and won many strongholds and slew the kings of the earth and went through the ends of the earth and took spoils of many nations, insomuch that the earth was quiet before him, whereupon he was exalted and his heart was lifted up. All right. Now, so when you skip down to verse 7, it says, so Alexander reigned 12 years and then died, and his servants bare rule, everyone in his place. We know about those 4 generals, right? And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves. So did their sons after them, and evils were multiplied in the earth. Evils were multiplied in the earth. This goes back and links with that scripture, Job 9:24. All right. This is how it went down, right? Alexander's conquests were not militarily, they were spiritual. He sought to unify his empire through the amalgamation of religious traditions, declaring himself the son of Zeus / Haman, and embracing local deities like Melkart, the Phoenician equivalents of Hercules. This syncretic approach mirrors the Edomite tendency to absorb and dominate. All right. So now when you go back and study the time of basically the Greeks, there's a period called the Greek Dark Ages. The Greek Dark Ages, where basically a lot of their records were destroyed. It's a lot of cloudy history. but it's synchronized with the times of Esau potentially starting to go up in there. All right. Now, when you go and you can go and look this up, it says the Greek Dark Ages anywhere from 1180 to 800 BC, right? So when you check this out, there's these people called the Dorians, or the Sea People. Okay, it says the fall of the Messenians, right? The original people that were there, them Japhites that was there in the Bronze Age collapse was attributed to a Dorian or Sea Peoples invasion. But Sea Peoples could have been pirate bands which coalesced due to the collapse and diverse in origin, like sailors, workers, or mercenaries coming from ethnicities like those of the Lucalands. All right, and when you look that up, it says the Lucalands were an ancient region of Anatolia. They were known from Hittite and Egyptian texts, which viewed them as hostile. It is commonly accepted that the Bronze Age Timpanum Luca was cognate of the Lycia of classical antiquity. So that could have been Edomite peoples, man. Right? Coming over there and then destroying the people over there in the land of Macedonia. Taking down certain people, getting up in there and growing from that point onward. Now, skipping back forward in history to the time of Alexander the Great and Philip of Macedon, you'll need to type that in and go back over the Macedonian-Persian Wars. Now, I'm saying all these things so for brothers who like to study history, okay? So you can go back and go look up the Macedonian and Persian Wars and get a lot more background history on the escalation of those battles leading up into the time of Alexander the Great. Because it wasn't just like Alexander the Great just pulled up and won. No, they've been going back and forth for a long time. All right, which is why you see such escalated hostility during the time of Purim. Okay, for those that are listening, let me know in the chat if what I'm saying is making sense. Let me know in the chat if what I'm saying is making sense. Okay, so I'm just giving you some references so you can go and look up more of the history yourself. Look up the Greek Dark Ages to go back in the ancient times to see how the different migrations was happening and how history is being kind of covered up. Okay, just like you had the Dark Ages where they came into the Europe and they erased all the images and took us down and took away that our history during the time of 1100, AD. But 1100 BC, you had the same type of thing happen to the Japhites. Okay. You had a similar type of thing happen to the Japhites where their history was mucked up and people was going in there and conquering different parts of the land and getting up in there, particularly Esau, which we can trace to these people being called Agagites and Macedonians and how it's linked. All right. So I want to go back to this article. And this is a good article for you to bros to go read. You can go read the whole thing. I want to go back to the next point though. Let me see. Go back to this point. All right. So I wanted to highlight that. Also, you can look up the Timonid dynasty too. Okay. And let me see. Real quick, because the name of the website changed. Let's see. It's called, worldhistory.org. And this thing it'll pull up different articles that you can read when you want to look up history. Okay. I'll put this into the chat. All right. All right. So let me go back to this. All right. So the next bullet point said Mystery Babylon as a culmination. The article ties these historical figures and empires to Mystery Babylon from the book of Revelation, portraying it as the ultimate manifestation of spiritual and physical oppression. It suggests that Haman and Alexander represent stages in the development of this prophetic entity. 5. Prophetic resolution. It concludes with an assertion of divine justice, claiming that despite the dominance of the Edomite systems, the Most High, it says, referred to as Yahweh, will ultimately overthrow Mystery Babylon and redeem Israel, fulfilling biblical prophecy. Boom. And so, really good article where they touch on these different points. Let me see what it says. It says the Roman Empire, often regarded as the pinnacle of ancient civilization, owed much of its culture to Hellenistic Greece. That's why it's called the Greco-Roman Empire. From art and architecture to governance and religion, Rome absorbed the adapted Greek traditions. This process of Hellenization aligned with the Edomite pattern of assimilation, ensuring the survival and expansion of their influence. The transition from the Roman Empire to the Byzantine Empire further solidified the integration of Greek and Roman traditions. Boom, boom, boom. Very, very good. Okay, so yeah, you can go to this article and get that. I just wanted to touch on the connection of Haman to Alexander. I thought that was good. And so it puts it all together. Now, you know, prophetically, we know what the scriptures say. Here in 2nd Ezra, the 6th chapter, when you read in the 8th verse, it says, and he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau. For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. So if Esau is the end of the world and there's another world to come, we understand that this last captivity was going to be ruled by the Edomites. So that's how you can put it together when you read in the book of Revelation, when it talks about Mystery Babylon the Great, who's going to be ruling Mystery Babylon the Great? Esau. And you see how much they revere the Greco-Roman times. Why? Because that was them. That was them. Okay? Putting themselves and promoting themselves, trying to chase that blessing that was lost and that they're bitterly angry about from Genesis the 27th chapter. Okay? So I wanted to bring that article. I'll put this one into the chat as well, so y'all bros can go over it. Good stuff. I'm gonna go check out that page and see if there's more articles like that on there. But let me know if that works. I can. But I just want to touch on that. I felt like that was a fascinating article. Once I got to read through it, I was like, oh, this is pretty good. Somebody has the spirit of a scribe and was able to do a pretty good job on that. Let's see. Yeah, the Bible is not Christianity. Okay. Firefight tournament. Oh yeah, definitely. This is Jake, you know. Okay. I'd go through this, man, and see what it's talking about. See what it's talking about, okay? But yeah, man, Lord willing, that was edifying, man. That's all I had for you, Akim, man. With that, man, I want to say, call halal Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, Ba'ashem Rakah Kodash, double honors. Oh yeah, definitely. This is Jake. Christianity is white man. Who is Yahweh? Shall I see that? Yeah. Double honors once again to the apostles, elders, bishops, great millstone. Much peace, love, and salutations to you, Aki. I'm out there pushing the word of Yahweh Shem Yahushua and sincerity and truth, man. And man, keep on pushing, man. It's getting tight, but it's right. Gotta love it, man. Shalom.